We have looked at so far, subscriptions. We have signed up with E3 subscriptions. There are more subscriptions available. Then Azure portal, we're going to discuss this Azure stuffs, but Microsoft Azure Active Directory, it has two different subscriptions. So based on your sign up, you'll get those services as well. So if you get enterprise mobility and security components, this license, under that, you'll be able to run this Microsoft Azure Active Directory, Azure AD Identity Protection, Azure AD Privileged Identity Management, Azure Information Protections, Microsoft Intune. So all these services available under enterprise mobility and security components. This one we'll be able to see later on when you deal with portal that time. As soon as you sign up, let's say now we sign up with Microsoft 365 Enterprise 3 with this subscriptions types. Now pretty much you have all these services available online. Right? So based on your requirements, you're going to select the subscriptions. So part of the planning migrations to Microsoft 365. So these days, many people actually using this 365, this software as a service. In the world, almost 80 to 90% people, they're using this Microsoft 365. Even government department, large business, so they're using this Microsoft 365 because it has a lot of advantages. So based on the user requirements, we're going to select the subscriptions. Once you select the subscriptions, then we'll be able to create, we set up accounts, create mailbox. And after that, if we migrate from on-premises to the cloud or from other provider to Microsoft cloud, then we need to migrate the existing data. Existing data means need to migrate the mailbox. So migrate users to 365. So these things we're going to look at in practical. So it's based on your company subscriptions, company, people, how much you want to spend, what are the services required, what is your company requirements. Based on that, you're going to choose a particular subscriptions. For example, in our case, 365 we choose, that will be sufficient to do all our tasks. That's the reason we choose that E3 subscriptions. Planning Microsoft 365 in your on-premises infrastructure. So when you move an enterprise organizations to Microsoft 365, it is important to plan exactly what steps you need to take, when to perform them, and who will perform them. These days, many on-premises services move to cloud. Like all these services, remember in Microsoft Windows Server 2016, we have looked at Active Directory. Active Directory, right? So these things we have in the cloud. Then we have storage services. We had long back, 10, 15 years back, we had a Microsoft Office Communicator. Or like later on, it was Sky for Business. Right? SharePoint. Then mail server. See, all these services, Active Directory, storage, Office communicators, and all these services now in the cloud. But before, all of the services were separate servers. All those servers was in the on-premises we put, and after that, we used to configure all of them, manage and maintain everything on premises individually. So there's a huge job was there, but all these things now migrated to the cloud. Now we're using the cloud services. So as soon as we create one subscriptions, like this is our Office 365 subscriptions. As soon as you create this one, we have a Azure Active Directory as well. If we go down, see the Azure Active Directory, open in new tab. Look at that, it is going to open the new tab. See, under this name, we have a Azure Active Directory. Look at that. Under that, we have many stuffs. This one got many stuffs. We're going to discuss in details later on, but let's click on user fields. Once you create user, see, now this user has, this user we created in that portal, like 365 portal, or during the provisioning time, we created this user, but this user is actually part of this Azure Active Directory Admin Center, part of this one. Okay. Now, as soon as we sign up, then we have this. This is the Azure AD we have. As soon as we sign up, pretty much automatically it's create the Azure AD and all other services. They're everything kind of like a provisions, kind of like a ready, related with your company account. All the services is related with, in my case, ZKK001, so ZK001 on Microsoft.com. So this is the Microsoft website on Microsoft.com. With that, our company name or domain has been associated. And all the services related with that domain. The part of the planning, we need to prepare your organizations for Microsoft 365, estimated network bandwidth, test your existing network, understand best practice for integrations with Microsoft 365, identify deployment advisory strategy. So this is a complete cloud services. Now, I'm using only one person, I'm now using these cloud services, but when in your company, maybe hundreds of people is going to use this one. And this 365, it's taking a lot of bandwidth. It's taking a lot of bandwidth. If I go to task managers, then you'll be able to look at that. Microsoft Teams is taking top level memory. So highest memory is taken by this Microsoft Teams. It's basically a lot. So if everybody using these Teams, like I'm using these Teams, that's like our company portal, Office, we using these Teams. But if many people using, a lot of bandwidth is required. That's what he's saying in these sections. Right? You need to have a proper bandwidth. And when you do deployment, then maybe you check these steps, determine your deployment goals, inventory your current environment and make key deployment decisions, fix potential deployment blockers, set up Office 365 services to work for your organization's rollout to users. They are the checklist, right? We need to organize our requirements. Based on that, we can deploy. And after that, we test and we see how they are performing. And we need to consider the bandwidth as well. If we do not have sufficient bandwidth in the company, if people they're using this 365, they will experience some issues. Right, so these are the things need to check up, planning checklist. So you need a sufficient bandwidth. That's what he's saying. Depends on how many people you have, what are the services you're going to use. Based on that, you calculate how much bandwidth is required. So you need a lot of bandwidth. Once you have a good bandwidth, then these things will work properly. In order to maintain, Microsoft provides the following network tools to help organizations test and validate their upload, download, and latency constants. Microsoft Message Analyzer, Microsoft Remote Connectivity Analyzer, Microsoft 365 Support and Recovery Assistant. These are the tools we have in order to check the network connectivity. Yeah, how fast or how slow, how much bandwidth is taking. But from the Task Manager, this is also we can see like only one Microsoft applications, how much bandwidth is memory is taking. This one, how much Outlook also taking a lot of memory. To run these two Microsoft applications, I need 500 meg RAM. So that's a lot. Ensure proxy and firewall devices are configured and sized to handle the additional traffic. Yes, bypassing authentication. So best practice, they are the best practice. Bypassing the authentications requirement for the Microsoft 365 domains. Existence of many shared calendars and mailbox. Determine the maximum number of supported devices for a public IP address. Bypassing the filtering to Microsoft 365 domains can improve connectivity and performance. Internal network settings that can affect performance, right? These things we talked about, but they just put slightly bit different way, but same thing. We need to have a proper bandwidth. And also from the firewall, all the Microsoft services should be allowed inside your network. Microsoft 365 URLs and IP address range. As a software as a service applications, Microsoft 365 has a large number of URLs and IP addresses representing Microsoft 365 service front-end servers. These URLs and IP addresses are referred to as endpoints. It's saying that, let's say we have OneDrive, we have SharePoint, we have Teams. All of the separate services, we have a separate URL. And a different sort of public IP address is used over there. So you should review all IP addresses and URLs that are required for Microsoft 365 to function correctly within your organizations. Identify deployment advisor strategy for Microsoft 365 services. Microsoft 365, in conjunction with Azure Active Directory, provides different avenues for companies to authenticate into its services. Different authentication strategies that can be implemented in an organization still include cloud-only, password hash synchronizations, Azure AD pass-through authentications, Azure AD pass-through authentications with single sign-on features, federated single sign-on with Active Directory federation services. Right, so this is the Azure Active Directory, provides different method for login. This is the Azure AD user. You can see that this user connected with different like Microsoft applications, regardless of the deployment strategy used to implement Microsoft 365 services. All resources are bound to the Azure AD user. Right? That's what I said. Like anything, any services we create, it will be kind of associated with our user ID, which is the email address. And the Azure AD user is the source of all other resources. Password hash synchronizations for organizations employing Microsoft 365. It's critical that they enable password hash synchronizations no matter what authentications method they use in their on-premises infrastructure. For the following reason: high availability and disaster recovery, on-premises outage survival, identity protections. So Pash has synchronizations, it has some advantage. Like your on-premises identity will be linked with cloud identity. In case something happened in on-premises, the services you'll be able to use with the cloud identity. That's what it says. High availability, disaster recovery, and you can provide with this account. On-premises outage on that time, you can use with the cloud account, and also it supports identity protections. If you'd like to use a new user, for example, you create a new user, maybe Chris, whatever name you have, you can put that name, any username, and automatically your email address will be that one. First name, Chris, last name is Green. After that, this is user role, settings, job info. This is optional. You can put, or if you do not put, I think it's fine. Oh, this one. It says Chris, and now it's okay. So just put the name, password. Maybe we use our default one. You can have groups as well, roles as well, and click create. Okay, so I got now a couple of users. Each of the users, they will have their, mailbox and all other services. Okay. Okay, we go again. This button, where is the dashboard? Sorry, this is, we went to Azure AD, but this is the Azure AD. Users, groups, and all this stuff you have. If you go to 365, over there, we'll be able to see our users. Oh, where's the other user? No, it came up now, right? So this user doesn't have any license. So we simply click here and go to license and apps. See, I got 24 licenses out of 25, so I'm going to use one here. And save changes. So in this way, you can assign license to your particular users. So depends on the role, user will be able to log into the portal and will be able to do some changes. Cool, so now we have 2 users. And if I want to check the mailbox, see the Outlook. If you click on Outlook in new tab, then you'll be able to see your mailbox as well. This is currently I'm logged in with the default account. This is Zahid at zk001.onmicrosoft.com. I'll look at here, inbox. Okay, this is the inbox. If you click on inbox, it's nothing here. But if I create a new message, I say Chris, or just I'll send it to myself. Look at that, Zahid and ZK001, test. So I'm sending to myself. Look at that, I got the email. So they're ready, pretty much. Software as a service means this software is made by Microsoft and is ready to use.